Welcome back to everyone who wasn't scared off by the fiasco of the last episode. It's time to face the final gym in the Johto region, the Blackthorn City Gym. In we go! The place is for some reason full of lava. I'm pretty sure this defies every OHS regulation out there. But it's time to battle some dragon types, and we have Torture in the lead. If they're actual, they are Dratini, so we don't really have a good option. For him anyway. But let's see how we do with Fire Punch, and you might notice that Torture still has Leer in his moveset. If you're wondering what it's doing there, so am I. Thunder Wave, a little bothersome. And Dragon Rage always does set damage. I'll have to check my healing equipment. Okay, so Torture is not going to be the way to go. I was hoping for some horsey so I could use Thunder Punch and surprise people. But we're going to switch. I'll give Dash a go. Now most of them do know Thunder Wave, which is going to be a bit of a problem. We will need some full heals on hand. Just in case. Thankfully Dash is strong enough to take that out, and our next opponent is another Dratini. So you'll mostly see them and Dragonair, and Horsey and Seadra. You will see Kingdra as Claire's ace Pokemon, but we're not going to see Dragonite because that's Lance's ace, and it would be a bit tough to take on. Kingdra is awkward enough as it is. So we've defeated our first opponent and we need to do some healing. Paralyzed Cure Berry that's been sitting there for ages. You can have a Torture, it's probably a bit mushy, it's all good. And a Super Potion will take care of that nicely. There we are, back on top. There you can see Claire and another opponent. We head up this way, and you will notice there are some boulders we can shift around. And of course trainers to battle. And I can't imagine that losing, if you're one of Claire's juniors, would be a very nice experience, because if I'm going to be honest, Claire is a bitch. She's incredibly petty. She's got some sort of complex somewhere along the way, because she's very hung up about being compared to Lance, and she really doesn't take losing very well. She makes a hell of a lot of excuses, despite the fact that you very clearly show your skill in every example of this game, especially in the remakes, where you wind up passing the test in the Dragon's Den that even Claire hasn't passed. So, which one are we going to need? I think we're going to need that one there, so let's move this boulder out of the way. Dash is going to bring the muscle for us. We move that down, and this one up. These make new paths. It's changed to a rotating bridge puzzle in the remake. Right, one of the boulders has fallen through. And let's battle this guy. Now there weren't many Pokemon that on paper were stronger than Dragon-type Pokemon. Generation 1 Psychics were maybe broken enough, but Dragon types, well, let's be honest, Dragon types were powerful in terms of stats, and they had access to some very good moves, but they didn't really start coming into their own until Generation 3, when some better moves and some more solid Dragon types turned up. Generation 4 was probably where they hit their peak with the virtually unstoppable Garchomp. Wait, we're not changing anything? Because fortunately, Torture is fast enough and strong enough to exploit Horsey and Seadra's poor special defense. pretty impressive. This is more like what he can do. It's much better for him now that he's evolved. So we need to push this one across and that one down. Then we have to loop back to the start. So we shall quickly do that. Okay, and that one up a bit, and that one down, and we have finished our boulder puzzles. So let's go downstairs, using the other ones. So we have this guy. I believe this is our last opponent. Well, no, there's one more. And yeah, obviously, Lance is like the only Dragon-type trainer in this generation who doesn't have a massive ego. Okay, so I'm gonna call a prediction. That sounded really odd, I apologise for that. And I'm going to switch to Gibson. Farfetch'd is still tagging along for some reason. I'll need a water type. Called it. And Gibson is faster, not too bad. That did a lot less damage than I thought it was going to. Let's try Slash, see how much that does. Critical hit! Nice work, Gibson. It's probably not going to be his moment in the sun, but he will be able to handle things pretty well after this. Once he gets Earthquake, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. So one more opponent and Torch is going to lead out. Interesting concept. I don't think they've really done a lot with that, to be honest. Now, several legendary Pokemon are Dragon types. Can I call it again? Yep, not surprising really. It's a pretty solid option to use Thunder Wave and then take an opponent out. And with Dragon Rage doing 40 damage, it can still take a chunk out of your HP at this point. You really have to be over-leveled if you want to avoid a lot of the damage these Pokemon can do. And you know what, for Dragonair, I'm just going to switch to Mersey, who will be leading things off for us. She's not the strongest out there, but she's bulky and that's the most important thing, and I should have saved that Paralyzed Cure Berry and given it to her, damn it. Oh well, that's actually a pretty good sign for facing Claire. Well, at least she's nice. Alright, Mersey, it's up to you. You are our best hope. Let's go. She obviously hasn't heard of Lance, or she's just pumping up her ego. It's kind of hard for her not to have heard of Lance, because they are cousins, so she's basically just bringing all the ego, and she is a very sore loser. It's no wonder I like Jasmine so much. She is the only female gym leader in Johto who actually loses gracefully. I mean, even Whitney, who behaves like a petulant child, is at least nice compared to Claire, who's a full-on bitch most of the time. She's not a good representation of female trainers, really. She's extremely spiteful and petty, and she's not a good representation of trainers in general. They maybe redeemed her a little bit when you could actually get to know her in the remakes. her personality does improve a fair bit, though the others do actually poke fun at her behind her back. For example, Erica will actually make fun of her outfit. And as we can see, Mersey is powering through. Still gotta stay on my guard, but having Ice Beam is a big advantage. Of course, things don't get really good for the Dratini line until they reach Dragonite, and things just rocket up from there. So we've taken care of the flunkies, it's time for the big boss. Our spotlight Pokemon for today, naturally, is Kingdra. The tough and durable nature of the well-balanced Kingdra shows why something as powerful as Gyarados shouldn't have been a water dragon type in the early days of Pokemon. Kingdra is very well balanced, possessing pretty good stats as you can see on the screen here. As a result, you can customize it pretty much however you wish, but you're going to get a lot of mileage out of its speed and special attack, especially in later generations, where its Swift Swim ability allows it to benefit from rain teams, and it can hit very hard with better dragon type moves. You really have to go out of your way to get an ice type or really work at getting another dragon type if you want to bring down Kingdra with great ease. While those generally well-balanced stats are very useful, they do also hinder it a little bit because without those rain teams, Kingdra doesn't really stand out at anything, and very strong Pokemon which can resist its attacks might be able to deal a fair bit of damage to it in return. Nonetheless, putting in the effort to evolve Seadra is very much worth it because this is a fantastic Pokemon that can fill a range of roles in your party. It's plenty of hard work to find the Dragon Scale, but it's well worth it. And let's get rolling, see what we can do. Mersey should be able to shrug off Surf pretty well. Dragon Breath is the move I will have to watch out for. See, there we are, Mersey is bulky. Alright, so we're doing decent damage. Dragon Breath, the most effective or widely available dragon move at the time, since it could be taught via TM. Outrage could be learned by the Dratini line, but fairly late on. Alright, so Hyper Potion, that's fair enough, and then Mersey can just keep using Ice Beam. I'll throw a Body Slam in there for a bit of extra chip damage. We shrug off Surf pretty easily. Dragon Pulse is its main move in the remakes, and I believe it has Hydro Pump as well. And we've got Paralysis. This should be the finishing blow. And not before time, we're running a little bit low on Ice Beam. I might have to give it a PP up. There we are. Well done, Mersey. I knew it was going to be worth using you, but you're paying dividends. More than I expected. And Claire cracks the shits. Apologies for that. So basically she just starts making a whole lot of excuses to try and avoid the fact that you beat her fair and square. Whitney at least accepted her loss even after she started crying. You could really just drop the hammer on Claire, invoke the rulebook. Like, I think it's seriously unprofessional. It gets even worse for her in the remakes where she gets called out by the Elder and he threatens to bring Lance down on her head. So we'll go and find a good water Pokemon and we will complete Claire's challenge. We're heading into the Dragon's Den. It's not that complex to navigate in this game. In fact, I think it pretty much stays the same, it's just got a graphical improvement. You can find Dratini there, I believe, by fishing. So, we'll put Farfetch'd back in the box. And I'll have to teach a Pokemon Whirlpool. I do not like being reminded of that blasted Teddiursa. Let's actually put Farfetch'd there for quick access. Tentacool is usually a good Pokemon if you need something which can learn Whirlpool. So, well, Tentacruel is basically the same. Whoops. So there we are. And let's go into our pack. And for the first time, we will use Whirlpool. We will need that to get into the Whirl Islands. Tentacruel will be the one who helps us out. Yeah, let's just get rid of Constrict. Away we go. Let's head up to the Dragon's Den, grab that Dragon Fang, which is the hold item that powers up dragon moves. If you want the dragon scale, you will need to venture into Mount Mortar, which I think we'll have to do pretty soon, maybe the next episode. I'm going to have to leave one of my team members out because I will need Bellsprout's Flash. And I also need an empty spot in my party. So this is the Dragon's Den. It does get quite an improvement in the remakes, graphically anyway. But we can navigate it pretty easily by using Surf, and I think there are some trainers here in the remakes. And of course we've run into a Pokemon. Most of the time it's going to be Magikarp. You can get Dratini from the game corner, so I tell you what, I will put a Repel on and we can move through with no worries. So there we are, a Whirlpool. I'll probably keep Tentacruel on hand because it will use Waterfall when I'm headed off to the Elite Four. You can surf over there. I don't think you can actually get in there in these games. You can in Crystal. So we keep cruising along. We come up here. And we get the Dragon Fang. And Claire appears out of nowhere. We finally get our badge. And there we are, we have the TM for Dragon Breath. Now, that particular bit of dialogue, it doesn't have anything to do with my breath, is actually sort of a pun from the Japanese version because her Japanese name is Ibuki, which can mean breath. As a result, it sort of plays on her name. In the English releases, it happens to work just fine because you can essentially call her a bit of a dragon. And she will give us information on getting to the Elite Four. We do have to get a fair bit of training in before that. But, for now, let's head out of here, and then we can wander back home. Been a while since we've visited there. I'll wrap it up with that, because we will have something useful there too. And the Whirlpool has disappeared too. Interestingly, in the remakes, the Whirlpools stay there and you just travel across them safely. So as soon as we get out, we get a call from Professor Elm. Hello, Wedge. I have something here for you. Could you swing by my lab? See you later. Let's go and get it because that is the Master Ball. That is going to be very, very handy. If I see one of the roaming Pokemon, I'm pretty much catching it with that. Otherwise, you have to set up a pretty well organised team for it. A very fast Pokemon at around about level 39, a whole lot of repels. Well, it really helps if you have a Crobat, actually. Now, it will run into problems with Raikou, I think, but Crobat is fast enough, or Gengar, if they have Mean Look, and Gengar is a bit better because it has Hypnosis, you can hold them there and chip their HP down, so you can track them and try to catch them later on. Not sure why I put the repel on, it was fairly easy to get down here. But there are plenty of ways to hunt down the legendary beasts. And at long last, we're almost home. Back where it all began. And let's head into Elm's lab and speak to him. Hi Wedge, thanks to you my research is going great. Take this as a token of my appreciation. There's the Master Ball. The Master Ball is the best. It's the ultimate ball. It'll catch any Pokemon without fail. It's given only to recognised Pokemon researchers. I think you can make better use of it than I can, Wedge. And isn't he a nice guy? But of course, let's wrap the journey up by saying hi to Mum. Or that. Well, we'll see how much money we have. I'll take that. Let's go have a look at our room. We can set up some decorations from here, I believe. And we can set up a town map. It's already set up. But there was the doll Mum bought for us. A Charmander doll. I'll pop a few items in the PC off screen, I think. It's as good a place to call this part of the adventure. We'll be searching Mount Mortar tomorrow, or whenever I record next, and then we'll be training in preparation for the Elite Four. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next installment of our scenic tour through the Johto region. Call your parents sometimes too.